Hello and welcome to the Startline podcast with me, Beth Espy. This is where we get behind the scenes with road racers, from signing up for events and prepping their bikes to finding the funds and making the dream a reality. We're going to follow riders all with one goal in sight: to line up at the Manx Grand Prix in 2026. Thank you so much for downloading this episode of Startline. Today we're meeting somebody else hoping to take on the mountain course here in the Isle of Man next year. This is Bailey Harker. He's only 24. He's done an incredible amount so far, and this is his story.
I live in Spalding in Lincolnshire. I've tried to be a road racer, and my goals is to race the Manx Grand Prix next year, and just signed with the Cowton team, so I'll hopefully do a few more Irish stuff, and that is where we're looking for 2026.
Amazing. So there's a lot to talk about, Bailey. Just take us back, though, first of all. Where did this passion for bike racing and road racing in particular start for you?
To be fair, my granddad and his brother used to race back in the day on the Tiger Cubs and stuff like that. And then my other granddad, which was a big part of my career sort of thing, he was a bit of a stock car racing. Obviously, my dad has always had interest in bikes. He never really raced until 2022, but obviously he's always had the passion for bikes and anything with an engine. And then my uncle, he ran a race team for a little while. He did a bit in BSB in the lower categories. It was mainly like a team in club racing, but I started racing back in, I want to say 2012. Granddad, my mum's dad, he got me into racing. Sort of thing, actually put the wheels into motion. And I come from a bit of an untraditional way to get into the bike. So I started out in grass karting, which is very fun and cheap compared to what we do now. But I loved it, and I'd love to have time to go back and do a bit. But every time there's an event on to even go watch, I find myself working or racing or doing something, and it's a shame. But obviously I was quite successful in the karting area. I've won 4 titles, and I think overall there's about 9 different sort of category sort of titles, individual sort of things. 2016 we stumbled across the pit bikes, so we went along to a meeting, Red Lodge, and to find out a bit of how to get into it, how much it costs, sort of thing. And we stumbled across this guy in a car park there, and he was just like, we'll take you to someone who's been doing it and would know a lot more. And the person he took us to see was an old family friend, which my uncle was, before obviously he ended up shutting the race team down, he was giving him an opportunity to sort of ride. So it's sort of like a weird coincidence, we managed to bump into them. Then we ended up buying their granddad's bike off them, and then started back end of 2016. We did 2 rounds and let's just say the talent was not there. But 2017 come around and we did a full season of British mini bikes, and it was a steep learning curve from going from the top of karting to being nothing. Find it hard to sort of adjust, and there was a lot of crashing. I think when we tallied it up at the end of the year, I think I crashed more than Mark Marquez in that season. It was a heavy one. Finishing off 2017, I think we finished 4th or 5th in the junior championship. But then 2018, we went into the adult classes, but I never did a full season. We just did what we can, sort of thing. And then we ended up getting a CB 500 race bike, and that was our introduction into big bikes. We did a couple track days, a race at Cadwell with no limits, and then that was 2018 really. There wasn't anything big happen or anything interesting, just our first taste of big bikes. Then 2019 was where things really started kicking off for me. We entered Thunder Sport as a freshman on the 500. Back then, it was a massive class. I think there was 30, near enough every meeting on the grid, sort of thing. I think there's well over 30 people what had entered the whole year. And the first round, obviously, it took a bit of getting used to, but we come away with 4 top 10s, and rider of the day on one of the days, which was a nice little surprise. And that because you got a bit of prize money with that and a nice trophy. So it like really put like the spirits to want to push on at the next meet and then literally we went to Septon, which was round 2, and I think we qualified 4th on the grid, and then we was leading race 1 for a matter of a millisecond, and then ended up crashing because it was a wet race. But when we race 2 was like an in-between condition and I was fighting for the podium. Unfortunately missed out on it, but it put me on pole for the Sunday races and we managed to get our podium in the last race of the weekend, and from that moment it sort of just kick-started and we was building. For round 4 I managed to take 4 wins in a row literally, but as soon as I took the first 4 wins we took the championship lead. It was up and down, but obviously when everything was right I was unstoppable that year, but unfortunately I missed out on the championship because of the last race of the season. I got tangled up with another rider, but it was hard to take that. But we then stepped up onto a 600 2020, but we only had half a season because of that god awful illness, like virus, what went round. We did a year and a half on the 600s, never really gelled like with the R6. I don't know if it was just stepping up too soon or what it was. It was just hard. And so we took a step back in 22. I didn't do much racing in 22. I did what I could because we didn't have a financial side of things. I think we did 4 rounds. 22 I flew over to Amoy to get a bit of an insight into road racing because it started to really like back in 2020, it sort of, I fancied it, but obviously I didn't have the signatures of a license to do it. When at 22, I managed to get my national license sorted and started to look at the options just to see what events we could do, what's not. So I went over to Amoy, and it was the best place I've ever been. Like the reception we got from everyone, like even just as a spectator, and the whole event was like mega. So when we went looking for what we was going to do into 2023, it was just like, right, what can we get together? What can we get and play? At the time, we didn't have the money to go out and buy a new bike or anything like that. So luckily, we had a CB500 from 22, and Oliver's Mount had just started the lightweight 500 class. So we had dabbled. We did 2 meetings there just to see if road racing was something that I would enjoy. And I loved it from the moment sort of we got going. Also, we did the 2 meetings then. We managed to scrape up enough money to buy a Super Twin. So the second meeting we did there, we did 2 classes, 500 and Super Twin. And we call it the losers race, the one for people that don't qualify for the main race. I qualified pole for that and then went and won it by 7 seconds. Just a random TT rider in it called Sean Anderson, what we beat, which was unreal. Obviously, ideally, I didn't want to be in that race. On paper, we qualified for the main race, like with time-wise, but because of the grid, we got put into that. But it was a nice way to sort of end the year. I think we finished with a podium on the 500, and then for that meeting overall, and then obviously the win in the non-qualifiers race. And that just led nicely into 24. The plan was for 24 was to ride the Super Twin and the 500, but the 500 was going to be the goal to try and win the championship there. Apart from 2 races of the year, I'd finished second in every single race, and the only other results on the 500 I got was a 3rd place and a DNF, which I crashed out the lead in the last race of the season, but still managed to win the championship by we had enough of a points lead, which has been my first championship on a bike, and for the first time in I think the last championship I won was 2016, so it's like 8 years or something like that. So it's been a long time without any major success, so it's a massive relief off my back. And at the end of that year, I was just like, that's it, I'm done with the 500. I need to prove myself on a bigger bike and that's the plan. If you got a 600 again, a Suzuki, 2008 with road suspension, absolutely stock, and then we was going out and fighting with people what had like 40 grand bikes and stuff we shouldn't be anywhere near, and I was having to learn how to ride a 600 hard and fast sort of thing, and obviously we did the last round on that, because then a bit earlier in the year in 24 we did Armoy for the first time, which was an amazing event. I finished 10th in the first Super Twin race. Bear in mind, it was wet. I was never really good in the wet, and in 24, I just sort of got my confidence and become a more rounded rider, able to ride in the wet. Got top 10 at Amoy, first time there, with some international riders, which I never dreamt to being on the same grid of them, let alone bit fishing top 10. And then obviously in junior support race, I qualified front row or fourth. I can't remember which, but I was sitting in third for a lot of the race, and then dropped down to fourth. And then unfortunately on the last lap, we ended up blowing the Super Twin off, which literally was like one corner away from finishing in the top four. So obviously we ended up with a 600 then to end the season at Oliver's, and I think we qualified a top 10, qualified for the main event as well, and so I qualified Michael Sweeney, which was like something, and that was just like a little like fun moment, like ticked off. It's just like, oh, a good rider here. And then I was battling with him in the race, which again, I was just like having to sort of pinch myself while I'm riding around. It was like, this shouldn't be happening. But unfortunately, like, he got the better of me about 2 or 3 laps to the end. And then unfortunately, he went down. So I ended up on paper beating him, but obviously that's he didn't finish the race. But I had mega fun on like fighting with him and learning the bike, and it was a little like inner moment where I was just like, actually, like I'm getting somewhere with my racing. Like, I feel like I can actually take a fight to people, and that led on to this year. He added a couple. Well, I say a couple. I added one new event within the Southern 100. We focused on Oliver's. The goal was to focus on the Super Twin to try and win the championship on that. But obviously that didn't go to plan, because we did the first round of Oliver's. Obviously our season this year started quite late. We didn't really have anything on until June sort of time, just because of the first Oliver's this year, because of some complications, never went ahead, sort of thing. So we had a bit of time sitting around, did a race meeting at Croft, which I'd never been there before, at the start of the year, and it didn't end well. We ended up having a bolt what holds the front brake lever on snap on the mid race, so I ended up having quite a big get off, and not many people know it because I didn't have anyone. I didn't want it to be an excuse, but I actually did. I got a bad nerve damage in my right elbow, which did affect us the whole year, sort of thing. And that, so when I was getting towards the end of race meetings, the last 2 races, most of the time at Oliver's, I qualified for the main event, but I never actually even started a main event, because the time it got to it, I couldn't really feel the brake levers, sort of thing. So yeah, quite a big struggle then, which we have got sorted. Like, it shouldn't be an issue now. We're working on the fitness and making sure everything's right, doing exactly what I've been told to do. So that sort of hinders all year. We've had a very good year, sort of like board riding wise and everything. I feel on paper it don't look successful, but to me, what we have done and achieved this year has been, I'd almost say, more of a success than it was winning the championship last year, because I've proven I can ride the bigger bikes, I can be up there, and we've done some new events, and I'm not just, say, fast round Oliver's. I can be up in the top 5 or top 10 Moy and top benefice in the B race, but at the Southern, but I can be fighting and doing decent lap times and that. So obviously that leads us to our choice for next year, which is to to put the entry in front of Manx and show like being a newcomer and hopefully try and build on what the feeling what we got and to achieve a dream and that. And obviously signing for the accountants is something what I never thought would ever happen. But I'm actually so grateful for them because obviously this is now obviously at the end of this year, Oliver's I got the opportunity to race for the TH Racing a team, which they're a mega group of people and that, and enjoyed every minute. Obviously, it didn't go as well as we'd hoped, but it opened up doors for what to come next year, sort of thing. So with accountants, we sort of got the hope of doing the Manx. There's a few more Irish meetings what we're trying to do, but I think we're looking at aiming to do Cookstown and Tanjagi and back for Amoy, all for Olivers, and hopefully if we get the entry to Manx. So that's where we're at.
Do you know what, Bailey? I think your sort of overview there of how it's been for you so far just really just shows the highs and lows of this sport. And I think you do obviously give your all to it, but when you do have those disappointments, I just don't know sometimes what must get you back out there, because it just must be so disheartening sometimes.
Stupidity. That's all I can put it down to. Obviously, it's just the love of the sport, and I guess there's something like I still got left to prove. Any athlete will always want to end their career on a high. They won't want to be put down because of a struggle or whatever. And I've always been told if you love something enough, you'll find a way to do it and bounce back. And there's so many great comeback stories and that out there. That's what you just got to look at and take a bit of study of what they're doing, what they've gone through to try and make it, sort of thing. And obviously I've not been injured like a lot of people have. I've never really broke bones or like that. Most of my injuries have all been like ligaments and tendons and that. So I've never had that bit there during the dark days of where you sat in bed, you can't do anything or like that. I've always been able to ride, but I hate the injuries that I get because they never fully heal. It's a bit harder, sort of thing to have a reason to not fight back when you actually not been through the trauma what other people have. And I just want to do as much as we can and not have an excuse to stop us. So usually if anything does happen to us, the elbow this year, I don't tell anyone, and I just try and keep fighting. The only way to know if it's fully healed is to put yourself in the situation of what you're training it for. And obviously that's what we just tried all year, to try and keep it hidden, try and keep pushing forward and hope that towards the end of the year it's absolutely fine and that, and we're getting there.
Just tell us then, what is your day-to-day life like? Because obviously, bike racing takes up a huge amount of time. I don't know how much of a time you have to do anything else at all, but are you working as well? And how does that all fit in?
So I work 8 days a week, 25 hours of a day. To be fair, I'm a welder and fabricator and engineering sort of thing. Recently, been made redundant, the business what I worked for. So I've ended up starting up by myself. So at the minute, I've not really had much time to even really think about the racing or like that. I've been literally trying to work as much as I can to sort of get a bit of security in for next year and to grow the business and to be successful in that area, because I need that sort of side to be able to do the racing, because obviously I'm not one of these people that are lucky with the sponsorship or to have people, know people with money to help them, sort of thing. A lot of my racing is funded by me. I have a few sponsors which try and help out as much as they can, sort of thing, but I've not got people chucking £2,000 or like that at me. It's just literal small sponsors. If they can, they're chucking extra 50 quid here or there. I go out to work as much as I can, and to be fair, I miss a lot of family events. If there's anything on site and there's an opportunity to work, I end up working just because of the goal what I have in mind. Obviously, I want to to race. I want to get to the Manx. So to sacrifice that to do it is what you have to do, sort of thing. And to be fair, it's all I've actually ever known. I've always been hardworking, been drilled into to us as kids, like to you've got to work for all sort of things. So I was never like, you get these kids at school where they don't feel like going, their parents allow them to have it off. Like, I had to literally prove that I was too sick to go to school to sort of have the time off, sort of thing. So I see, and I can't hate on my parents for doing that, because it's gave us a good work ethic. And especially now that I'm working for myself, like, there are days where I could easily just go, nah, fuck this, I'm stopping in bed. But I don't, because I've got to look at the bigger picture, and that picture is the road racing sort of things.
So then how much of a difference does it make to you then being with Cowton then? Because that must to some extent take some of the pressure off, does it?
To be fair, it has taken a massive pressure off, sort of thing, because if we didn't sign for them or didn't sign for a team, then that goal of doing the Manx would be non-existent, because of I haven't got the money to go out and buy a new bike to comply with the rules, sort of thing, and got no prior knowledge of what it takes to run a bike at the Manx or anything like that, or any of the infrastructure. So it's not only a benefit for me because I can just sort of turn up and ride, and got a very knowledgeable person within Fran to be able to, like, push me in the directions I need to go. Obviously, if we didn't have that, then it'd be very blind and very hard. And to be fair, I think what budget we have for this year, we'd probably need to, like, double it to be able to do it, sort of thing. It just wasn't feasible for us to be able to do it on our own again. Sort of like, the pressure has, like, been taken off on that side of things. Obviously, there's still a lot of pressure on me to sort of get enough money to be able to train, to actually go to the races and perform better. But obviously, I'd rather have that pressure than the other stuff on top. I know that it's probably kind of boring, but it's freed up a lot more time for my dad. He's not got to worry about getting the bike ready or what to do, or between us ordering stuff. Obviously, he can do a lot more work around the house. I would say it'd be a bit more relaxed, but he probably don't want that. I'm, like, so grateful for the opportunity what Fran and the team would give us, sort of thing.
One of your teammates, William Grant, was a newcomer this year. He was very distinctive around the paddock, Bailey, you know, wearing the hat known as the sheriff, obviously. Are we going to see something similar from you if you're over here?
Oh, you might have the old bucket hat and that. To be fair, it's hard to find your own unique thing. Obviously, Will's got his with the hat and that, and obviously back in the day at Thundersport, I was always known like for bucket hats, and usually when it was time to go for a shower after the race, and obviously I'd have, near enough every meeting there'd be a different pair of swim shorts, sort of thing, to go to the like the showers and that in. But at the minute they're trying to find, like, our little niche within the road racing, and it will come. And that,
you know what, I'm not thinking swimming shorts and road racing necessarily go very well together, but you never know. I mean, if it's a warm day, who knows? In terms then of learning the course, obviously you've been over here, you did the Southern, as you mentioned, this year. Did you get much chance to sort of go round the mountain course while you were over?
Yeah, so obviously when I was at the Southern, obviously it was a bit weird for us. Obviously I'd never been to an event like it where obviously you have to practice in the evening, sort of thing. So it's free quite a lot during the day. Obviously our main focus when we was over there was actually to, like, do the laps around the Southern, because obviously that is what we was there to do. But also we did manage to get out a couple of times to do a lap of the course and sort of just, like, see what's what and that. If I'm being honest, I'd like to get over more, but obviously there's just with work, it's hard. Obviously it's not like it's a couple of hours down the road. It's a couple hours up to the boat and then about 4 hours across. And then you got to see hotel and everything. But I have been watching quite a few on boards, a lot of Milky's videos, then playing the game as well. I think that's the big help, because obviously with the videos you can quite easily switch off, whereas on the game you've got to be trying to think what's next.
Who do you choose to ride as when you're playing the game?
Just someone on the game what has the Cowton bike, and his name is Harrison, who's a northern monkey.
You can get all round, presumably, without falling off, because as I have mentioned before, I've only tried it a couple of times and literally can't get past Bray Hill.
To be fair, before, obviously, I even thought about doing the Manx sort of thing when the games and that come out. I was the same. I couldn't get past like Bray Hill. Just the physics of the game is absolutely shocking. But I can get around. I've done probably about 10 laps on the game there. There's not been something, but obviously, to me, it's more of actually being able to see where the next corner is and stuff like that. But there's only so much you can do before you get that mentality of, right, I need to see how fast you can go sort of thing on it to try and get the lap time on the game. Like, so there's mistakes and that what come in, but obviously it is very handy to be able to do that because there will be that similarity of, in some way, of in real life. If I try to rush that, this is what's going to happen sort of thing. So it's very good having the game. It's very, helps with your knowledge. So that's all what I've been doing.
Would Dominic Herbertson be proud of the lap time that you were able to do playing as him?
Well, to be fair, when I play with him, he ends up in the bush more times than it does to the finish. But
okay,
no, to be fair, I think he'll be a bit jealous that he's not done that time. But no, respectful time, I'd say, but obviously the game compared to real life is so different. So it's just a very handy platform to learn.
You know, it's so weird, isn't it, to think that you've absolutely got no idea what the next year is really going to look like, because obviously you're waiting to see whether that expression of interest is accepted. And I guess it must make it really difficult in terms of planning. You've got some idea, obviously, being with Cowton and knowing what you want to do. But how do you find the waiting around? Are you the sort of person who likes to have things planned out, or are you a little bit more spontaneous?
I hate not knowing a direction. This whole time before anything was, say, the deal was done sort of thing, obviously it's all I could sort of think about when we had the conversations and that, and then obviously there's a time where there's just obviously waiting to know what Toby was doing, to know if I was going to be signing for a team or not, and it was just like there's like panic in me, like sort of, what if it don't happen? What do I do then? Because then I've got to try and find another team that's going to be willing to take me and the money and that. So I like having everything planned out, and I like knowing in full what it's going to entail, because then it sort of relaxes me a bit. As I say, I know that I need to have this by then, and this is what's going to happen and stuff like that. So I'm definitely not, well, I can be spontaneous, but it's very rare.
And in terms of how your family feel then, because obviously, fingers crossed, if you're over here next year for MGP, presumably they'll want to be with you as well. And I mean, you've obviously got that amazing bond with your dad and your granddads too.
Yeah, obviously, mum and dad will be across there with us. Obviously, they love the island. Obviously, they've got friends over there. So obviously, it's not only just a chance to be over there to support us, it's bit of a social thing for them. And obviously this year will be, well, next year I was to say, it will be a holiday for them, because obviously, because I'm being selfish and want to do these things, but they're going to lose out on going abroad sort of thing. So I need them just as much as they want to be here sort of thing. Like, I can't do it on my own, especially not my Manx. Like, that is something completely out of like my comfort zone. Obviously the time what you're there and everything sort of thing. I couldn't have done the Southern without them. Obviously just the support and everything what they gave us, and obviously dad working on the bikes and everything, and then obviously the problems we had at the Southern. Obviously me and dad had a late night trying to get the Super Twin sort of fixed and that, and then an early morning the next morning to try and make the race sort of thing, and I just couldn't, like, without them there. It's just, I think it'd probably be a bit of a less of a drive within me sort of thing. I think I'd be probably more worried about that I haven't got a comfort zone, but they've always done everything they can to support me. I don't think there's actually ever been a time where I've been at a race meeting where I've been riding, but they're not been there. I know obviously mum and dad are 100% going to be coming. I don't know what my sister and her boyfriend's doing yet. That if they'll come across, obviously they come with us to the Southern and that, and obviously they enjoyed it and everything. Yeah, I'd like my nan and granddads to come, but obviously it's a bit hard. My dad's dad usually comes to Amoy because he helps set up the track and everything. He's got friends over there, sort of things. They're more likely to see him there than the Manx, but obviously I just want as much support as I can. I think like that will be the difference between having a good Manx and an average Manx.
Well, that's lovely though that they're so supportive. That's absolutely brilliant. And I don't know what you're like before a race. Do you sort of get a little bit nervous? Do they know how to handle that side of things when maybe, you know, all the tension's building a little bit?
To be fair, like the last couple of years or see, I have been very nervous and that sort of thing. And luckily this year, sort of after the first meet, and it did go away, but the whole of last year and also the first round this year, I really badly suffered. I don't know if it was sort of nerves, anxiety, or what it. Before every session and every race, I was having to be sick, sort of thing, and like it wasn't good and it wasn't pleasant. And no matter what we tried, I could have some sweets to give me a bit of sugar to try and have some energy. It'll come straight back up. I'll try and have a bit of water to settle myself, and obviously same thing. It'll come straight back up. But luckily, towards the end of after the first round this year, it did go away, but I do have quite bad nerves beforehand and that. And even when it's something what's not important, say it's just a fun round or something like that, or going, it does get to me, sort of thing. Like there's always that feeling in your stomach and that, and it'll probably be bad at the Manx because of what it is. But I think that'd be more excitement than anything. But they know how to try and handle it and everything. And to be fair, most of the time I try and sort of let me deal with it myself, as also, you know yourself what you want, and they just sort of chip in with depends obviously what way I'm feeling, sort of thing.
Oh, bless you. That must have been blooming awful though. I mean, are you sort of person who can listen to music and stuff like that? Does that help you sort of zone out a little bit?
To be fair, it depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes it will be no one talk to me, I'm listening to my music. And then other times I am absolutely pestering and annoying everyone I can with doing stupid stuff and that. But there's not one thing what try and chills me out or like that. And to be fair, most of the time, if I'm not winding dad up or doing something stupid, then it's usually a bad thing. It's never usually a good day. Like most of the time, if I have got music on, I'm still being a bit of a nuisance and that. But if I'm quite like completely silent and not, it's, I'm very, there's something's not quite right. Like I'm very nervous or something, or I'm not quite well, sort of thing. So
do you know what?
Yeah,
well, maybe we'll get you a little sign, when you on the start line, if anybody comes near you with a microphone, you can just have a little sign, say yes or no. What about the social media side of things then, Bailey? Is this something that you are quite up with, keeping up to date with what you're doing and letting people know?
To be fair, it's something I want to do more. Obviously, most of the time, I have a lot to do with my social media, but anything what needs posting or like that, I usually do a draft up and send to my girlfriend to make it more professional, and that, and all the cool designs on posts or anything you see is usually down to her. And that, obviously, I want to start doing some more stuff and being a bit more active, but then also at the same time, during winter, there's not really a lot going on for me apart from working and stuff like that. The only event we've sort of got this year is a team building event with the Cowtons going flat track in a couple of weeks, and that, so there might be a bit on our socials about that. Obviously, I'm not too sure yet. Obviously, just to see how the day plans out and that. But yeah, I like doing this sort of things where I can have a sit down conversation and that with people, and I'd like to do more. But obviously, at the same time, there's only so much you can say about your career and stuff like that. But social media present is something I want to build on.
And you mentioned your girlfriend. Is she into bikes generally, or is it just something that she's got an interest in because you're doing it?
No, to be fair, they met through racing, and that, obviously, she's got friends and that what race and that in World Championship and stuff like that, and got some family and stuff. But obviously, they ended up meeting at DSB sort of thing when I was on the spanners for Ash Barnes and that. So obviously, they just sort of managed to put two and two together. And she never was really a fan of road racing. She's still not now, but she supports me as much as she can.
And in terms of where we are now, what are we sort of like start of December as we're talking? How does Christmas look like for you? Do you have a big family one?
To be fair, obviously last year and this year, obviously sort of a fresh start. Because obviously last year was our first Christmas together, so obviously it was weird for me because it's the first one I was away from my family for actual Christmas Day. So they obviously be splitting it between mine and her sort of thing. So this year she's down here for the first time. So obviously it's going to be a different experience again and that, but obviously a bit more normal for me. And then obviously we'll go back up to hers for New Year's. But they're not really got too much planned. We usually try and have relaxed ones where obviously some family will come round and we might go to some of the families, depends obviously what they've organised and that, but usually Christmas Eve we'll go uptown and have a few drinks and that with everyone. Like a few of my sponsors will be out and just a load of friends sort of thing, usually meet uptown.
Bailey, it's been brilliant talking to you. Just tell us where people can find you on social media.
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and it's all Bailey Harker Racing. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Bias Science UK, UA Birdle Commercials, Sean Williamson. If anyone see the rose, tulip or whatever, the flower what was on the bike most of this year, that was actually in memory of his dad, who used to be a sidecar passenger for Steve Sinnott, and that was a little sort of memorabilia sort of thing for him, and I'm grateful to be able to like give it a ride sort of thing and like fulfill not only his help for me and like his little bit of sort of give back to his dad, sadly passed away this year. So obviously without them guys we couldn't have done what we've done and that, and just like to say a massive thank you as well to the Armada pub over at Amoy, because they give us a lot of support and that, and Michelle and Neil, they also they put us on a talk show every year that we go across to and sort of thing when the event's on, so that really helps like advertise me and just everyone else what has helped. Obviously the whole of the people who do the Club 15 and that, none of it goes unnoticed, so thank you.
Well, that's lovely. Bailey, brilliant to talk to you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thank you.
Bailey Harker, just amazing again, isn't it? Just thinking about all those people who have supported him, and of course being signed for the Cowton team has made a huge difference. We really do hope to see Bailey over here next year. We'll put all his links to his social media on the podcast page, so if you can give him a follow, that'd be great. So over the past few episodes, we've been hearing from riders who've done the MGP before about the thing that they wish they'd known before they set out on the mountain course for the first time. We're going to hear from somebody now who's done the MGP and the TT as well. It was a little while ago since his debut, but this is what he wished he'd known.
Hi Beth, Chris Moore here. A long time ago since my debut at the Manx Grand Prix in 1996. But probably one thing I wish I'd known before I was racing over there was that I didn't really know the course as well as I thought I did. Just put the effort in if you're going to be doing it, because you're always learning. Even after years of doing it, you're always learning. Another thing I wish I'd known was just how bumpy it is from Ginger Hall through to Ramsey. That really was an eye-opener on my first couple of laps. See you soon. Bye.
Chris Moore, just a brilliant rider around the mountain course, so great insight from him. I also spoke to Chris and his wife Lorna on the Journey to a Dream podcast, and that was a really fascinating conversation just about what it's like from both sides of the track. So I'll put the link to that on the podcast page along with Chris's social media, so please do give him a follow. Thank you very much indeed for listening to this episode of Startline. Do take some time to find the riders on social media. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you'd like to get in touch with me and be part of the podcast in the future, you can email beth@startline.im. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.